I remember we did Florence Nightingale.
And Mary Seacole.
No, we
You
did not.
didn't do Mary Seacole? What?
I learned about Mary Seacole, and from this day, I learned about Mary Seacole on a BBC documentary. Palm Wine Podcast. Hey, and it's a
And it's the Palm Wine Podcast. And it's the Palm Wine Podcast. And it's the Palm Wine Podcast. Yeah, and it's the Palm Wine Podcast.
Welcome back. It's the Palm Wine Podcast, and it's your boy Quakes.
It's Sahara.
And we back again.
Yeah, so where do we need to be following us on Twitter?
At Palm Wine Pod.
And on Instagram, make sure you follow us at Palm Wine Podcast.
And make sure you all interact with our content, be it our reels, our tweets, our Insta posts, because we got a lot of content coming for you and for you. Yeah, we got a lot of content's coming for you to enjoy. There we go. Got there. I was in flight and I landed. Love it.
So yeah, before we go into that last piece of housekeeping, make sure you click the notification bell, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and make sure obviously first and foremost that you're sharing this as well with your friends. Comment below your opinions on today's video.
And also make sure you use our hashtags. Hashtag PW Podcast and hashtag Palm Whine Pod.
So yeah, today's episode, we're still continuing the theme of
Black representation. I think this is our last one.
Yeah, this is our last one. My mind went blank there, you know.
Listen,
I wanted to say the topic before the general.
Someone said you're getting old still.
Who was it? You? Yeah, you see, it was a plant. It was a plant. It was a plant. It was a plant.
I don't know who said that, but it's a bit of a madness still.
Continuing the theme of black representation, today is the final ep on this topic, and today's niche, or the main thing we're discussing today, is education. So yes.
We're gonna be. I told you.
It's gonna be
educational podcast.
Yes. Not just for the jokes, not just for laughs.
Listen, we got a bit of both, you know.
Oh, yeah,
back
read
again.
Your book.
Open your books.
Read your book.
Hey, you better finish your book. You better finish your book. You finish your book. Hey, you better finish your book. I mean, in your books. You better finish your book.
I wanted to come back here and I didn't know what to say. But yeah, education.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, we've kind of touched on this in our season 1 episode where we was talking with J Hope. I like J Hope.
Oh yeah, we did.
Where we was talking about our upbringing, and our education and etc. But I think because it's black representation, I'm gonna go a different angle with you, Quicks.
Yeah? Before we do that, we're gonna link that episode that Sahara just mentioned in the description below. So if you haven't watched it, make sure you go back and watch it before you watch this.
Yeah, because you'll get a better idea of where we've come from. Who we are. There's a song like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's lost my idea.
I was gonna say, where do we come from? That's the wrong song. It's Who Can I Run To? That's that song.
Who can I run to? Tune.
Do.
Yes. It was the stream. It was in the mic.
All right, cool.
All right, let's have serious.
We're back and we're better. Calm.
Right, so I think to niche the conversation to what we're going to go into later, what I want to ask is your experience as a black young male child in a school. But I want to particularly, focus on secondary school.
Okay.
Because this is when you're finding yourself.
Okay.
And this secondary school has a big impact on where you start to lead into, and your what starts to inspire you, what you start to fight against, etc. So I want to see your experience of when you was in as a black young male. I want to say boy because I hate that. Don't be calling a black people boy, right? But a young male and a black male in secondary school.
Boy, so I had a bit of a different experience because I went to an all-boys school, first and foremost.
Yes, yeah.
And that school was in the centre of It was Central London.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a group of different, like it was all different groups of people, bigger mix,
Cultures, yeah.
different mixes, different cultures, different upbringings, all in one melting pot that we called my school, right? My experience was an interesting one. So there was, I think when you're at that age, you don't really see color. Like there's not racism there, right? It's the cool kids and the not so cool kids. Racism, in my opinion, obviously don't want to take it down that path, but it kind of grows after you leave secondary school. So my experience in the education system is that my school had a lot of black people there. Yeah. Right? But the black people were also very integrated with the Asian community or the white community.
Yeah. Which is the way it should be.
Oh yeah, we're all cool, innit? Like some of my boys that I hope you lot are watching this, obviously I'm gonna shout you man out, innit? But for my secondary school, I still play football with them, and they're from different backgrounds. So some of them are Asian, some of them are white, some of them are mixed race, some of them are black, Turkish, all of that. Do you know what I mean? And our friendship is still there years later. So obviously we would love to have black representation in the schools and stuff like that, and there was obviously people had different upbringing. Some people were involved in a gang culture, came out of that, or some people were probably stayed in it, I don't know, but my experience was one where it was very balanced. You know, one thing I would say is that there wasn't a big network of black teachers, and the ones that I remember I did have, they were a lot more invested in the black children. You know, obviously some of them didn't take nothing. Like I remember one of my biology teachers. I think she was Jamaican, and when we were making noise, you just heard the venom, and we were just like, right, all right, cool, say no more. I was gonna keep quiet, just shut my mouth. That's that. Yeah. And obviously, I remember there was a black. This guy was the funniest guy, but rest in peace him. But he was such a great teacher. He passed away a couple years ago. One of my DT teachers. We would go into, like, if you were in trouble or someone was chasing you, he would open up his classroom door, and he would be like, "Come to my classroom, come to my classroom, come to my classroom. What's going on? Why are you doing this?" And in our lessons, he would be like, "You're not balanced. There's no balance. You're not balanced." Like, if you're being silly, right? He's like, "You're not balanced. There's no balance." And like, as much as he was an older guy, it's funny, but nah, it's as much as he was like an older guy, he was someone that we didn't realize it at the time, but he really cared about. He really cared about us. He wanted to see us do well, and we must be, at the time, I thought it was like, this old uncle, like, he's just chatting bare, bruv, like,
love it,
as much as he's protecting me, like, why are you still talking? Like, I'm doing my thing, like, do you know what I mean? And he was someone that was really cool, really down to earth. He meshed with us.
Like a school dad.
Yeah, like a school dad. And there was another African uncle, Ghanaian guy as well. Like, he was one of my maths teachers for statistics. And I don't know why, it's always uncles. It's always literally always uncles that are like maths teachers.
I just because I'm smiling. You know I'm remembering.
There's always an uncle that's a maths teacher, right?
Yep.
And
we had the Ghanaian one as well.
And he was like, yeah, they would speak life into us. You know, the teachers would speak life into, well, the black teachers would speak life into the black kids. It's like, you don't need to be doing the road life. You don't need to be running around, getting into trouble, all of this stuff. You don't need to do that. Yeah. Because you have so much. Yeah, you have so much potential. You're intelligent. Like, they would speak so much life into us. Yeah. And I realized that there were a few teachers that reminded me. So obviously, I was one of the people that used to chat bare. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast, so it kind of flows, in it.
Every parents' evening, and she talks,
and she just doesn't shut up.
She would do so well, but if she just focused a little bit more,
and just stopped speaking and interacting with the people around you, then they would be better.
She's easily distracted,
right? Yeah. So, but the experience. Sorry, I know I digress, but the experience was a good one, but it was one that opened my eyes to the importance of having the right influences as
Mm.
teachers, and also your upbringing and what you bring into school. You have to be very careful of the people that aren't brought up the same way as you,
Mm.
because they can definitely rub off on you.
Yeah.
And that's even with the black boys as well. Like, there's some black boys that I met, some of my closest friends at secondary school, they weren't actually black. They were
Asian.
Asian
Yeah.
or mixed race, or um actually one of them actually owns a restaurant in Elephant, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely need to go there. But yeah, like, I think it's a Kurdish restaurant. Can't remember what it's called. Can't remember what it's called. I think it's Tandine. I can't remember. But anyway, one of we embrace each other's cultures,
Mm.
right? And the biggest thing about that is that in embracing the culture, it helped us to learn about each other.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it helps me
does.
to learn about things that Kurdistan people might have done, Greek people might have done, Nigerians. Obviously, you have the big Nigeria Ghana beef all the time. Like, back in the day, we said it in the episode Sarah mentioned. Like, you would have your little Jade just do it backpacks with a little Jamaica flag boxing glove in the corner, or the Ghana boxing flag. Like, you start to see how multicultural schools are, and how once we leave, to go back to my original point, once we leave, that's when the racism starts to form.
Mm.
That's when you start to see a lot of division. It doesn't. There's not much division in schools when it comes to people mixing from different backgrounds. It's more once you leave that environment, it gets bigger. It blossoms. Sorry, been going on for like 10 minutes, boy.
Yeah. I thought, let me leave you. Normally it's me. What do you call it? I think mine was a little bit different. I feel like for the most part we all meshed and integrated. But like the creatives would stay together, the dancers would stay together, the singers and the dancers were all together. To the people who liked music and the beats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, we did integrate or whatever. I'm trying to think. I agree with you. We didn't have that many black teachers, and that was annoying because they didn't understand us.
Yeah.
And a lot of schools have a lot of white middle class people, and unfortunately they don't have the experience that not even to make this a race thing, but even if it was a white person that lived on the same road that I do, me and him or her would have the same experience, or they, because you've got to say they now, or would have the same experience.
I completely forgot about
and that. And that teacher won't get that because they didn't have that type of thing. You know what I mean? They're waiting for their granddaddy to pop off so that they can get their inheritance. That's that's their main concern. So that was frustrating. Yeah, that was a bit low.
That one was below the belt,
but we
what?
call it. I feel like in my school we were unapologetically black. We did not care. We embraced our culture and we fought so much to have multicultural days.
Yeah. I forgot about that. International days.
Or we called it multicultural days. We loved food. They were funny enough. My year in my secondary school, they loved food. We were foodies, boy. I'm just deep in it now. And we loved to dance. I remember one time in PE we did Irish dancing as well. Like like proper. The teachers, a lot of the teachers as well. That I thought I actually ended up working with my teachers, one of my teachers, for the last couple of months. You know.
Oh yeah, you was telling me.
So, and that she was one of my favorite teachers when I was there, and I actually ended up working with her for a couple of months, and it's literally been the best thing ever because when she came, she was at one level, and obviously I was a student, so now she's at this certain level, and I've blossomed into who I've blossomed into, but I think we were both in awe of each other. It looks like I'm.
What in the magic?
Voting. You weren't ready for the handwork. But yeah, sorry. I saw it in the view and I was just moved off. But yeah, sorry, back to the point. Right, so I think that was a beautiful thing to experience. And I think it shocked us as well because or sometimes when you end up in situations like that where you work with, so I don't know if you could work with any of your teachers, But I always remember, for me, I think a standpoint for me in secondary school was we were the first year group to have the HPV vaccine. The girls. Because now boys can get them. And so, yeah, the boys can get them now. The HPV vaccine. Well, there's the male pill too. He's silent, everybody! Right, so anyway.
Okay.
Right, but
yeah. Wow.
Quick
okay.
one.
What?
Don't mention it. Don't say anything.
No, I'm sitting like, wait, what? Since
Right. So
I've seen it, but
the
wait,
HPV
what?
vaccine, and this teacher, who was a history teacher, we're gonna go into it in a minute. So this is a nice passageway into it now.
Segue.
Said to us, we were all crying, and I remember I had a Lucasade bottle, and you know they don't want fizzy drink in school. This is when they start to crack into it, and like.
Oh, people were
Jamie
shotting.
Oliver stopped the bloody turkey
Twizzlers
and all of the fish and chips and stuff when lunch actually used to be nice. The food now is...
My school still did fish and chips.
We still did.
Fish chip Fridays.
Yeah, we had fish and chip or fish pie Fridays. They alternated. The fish pie in my secondary schools, I used to take people's free school meal tickets. I didn't want it and queue up for that fish pie. Best fish pie I've ever had in my life in my secondary school. But yeah, we go back to the original topic again. And I remember we were suffering our arm. It was like that, you know what I mean? You know that M&S advert that comes out every Christmas?
Oh, what, the one where they put one shoulder for your fling over it?
So, we call it. So it was like that. And I remember I was drinking water and the teacher must have snatched it out. And I was like, sir, I'm in pain. And I was like, sir, it's water though. But it was a Lucasade bottle. But I said, look at the bottom. And he threw my water in the bin in front of me. And he was like, come on, girls. We're all British here. And I flipped. He was like, oh, come on, have a little heart. And I flipped. And I remember going home and telling my mum that. And my mum, people who know my mum.
Right up in the school with it.
I can't even touch this keyboard.
Expeditiously, man.
Right in the letter now to the school. But I think for me, that because I was like, no, we all live in Britain, but not all of us, especially those who are ethnically diverse, because I don't even like using people of colour, but ethnically diverse, we don't, not all of us will say firsthand we are British. We are British by birth, the majority of us as well, especially our generation.
Yeah.
However, I won't go to, if somebody says, oh, where are you, what's your origin or whatever, I don't go and say, oh yeah, I'm British. I say, I am Caribbean. I am Jamaican and Antiguan. You say, I'm Ghanaian.
I'm a British-born Ghanaian.
Is that what you say?
That's how,
I don't feel like there's the need to identify that you're British, though. And I feel like that's a Western thing.
I think it depends. It depends on what... So, I can sometimes code switch, I'll be honest. But it depends.
Yeah, I do, but I still say I'm Caribbean. And if the option is... when you're doing if you're applying for a job or you're doing a form,
say Black British,
British Caribbean. Yeah. So it's in there. But wherever the Caribbean goes, I go. Even if there's a Black British option, I always say Black Caribbean because that's what I identify as.
Fair enough.
So yeah. So anyway, to now segue into the next bit.
Yeah.
The curriculum and history taught in the UK and the lack of, because we know we're going to say black representation of, but the lack of black representation in education in the UK. So just to give some background information on this, I was thinking at one point of being a teacher, and I love history, and I thought if it was going to be one of the two, it would have been English or history I'd have taught. And I was stuck between it, and I remember looking at the English curriculum, and I was like, oi. There's actually black history options that you can study.
Wait, what?
In the English curriculum, in the UK curriculum. So my school, we did slavery, and even though that's the most obvious option to go for, as a class or a year group, we appreciated it because it was something we could relate to. However, this is also reflective of, I think it's one of the only, I don't know if it's changed since then, it was a couple of years I've looked, but I think this was the transatlantic slave trade was the main black topic that was on there. And we've kind of delved in and out of our contributions, and in International Women's Day, you highlighted some black women who have hugely contributed to the way we see the world today. And I'm thinking, I remember we did Florence Nightingale.
And Mary Seacole.
No,
you didn't do Mary Seacole? What?
I learned about Mary Seacole, and from this day, I learned about Mary Seacole on a BBC documentary. I remember sitting at the TV, leg cross up, watching and being kind of in shock. and how they even highlighted that Florence Nightingale didn't save any of the ones that had been chopped up or were looking like they were on their last legs. She didn't go on the battlefield like they say that she did to go and save them. She let other people go there and take out the wounded. She was walking around with her lamp, but she didn't go outside that much because obviously she wanted to preserve herself. And how Mary Seacole, because I think they meshed or crossed path at some point, was one of the ones who was out there on the front line dragging up not the dead bodies, but the wounded soldiers to heal them. And then, but we never heard about her. And it's only a couple years ago they did her statue, and there was this whole uproar about it. But yeah, I remember us doing the lady in primary school as well, the lady and the lamp or thing, or whatever. Yes. And there's a whole black woman who's actually the hero in the situation. But again, I think for me, and we've said it before, I've definitely said it before, it's almost, and in the last episode or where we talk about finances, we're taught to live somebody else's reality. Dreams. Egypt, they knock off the noses when we're Egyptian. When you go to Greece, if anything, the private parts are knocked off. But why, when you go to Egypt, the nose is knocked off? Why? Because it identified. You knew what exactly I said by then.
I know, right?
But, yes.
Just like, wow.
Why is the nose? Because the nose was an evidently black nose. Feature. It was a prominent black feature, and they did not want us to know where we were from. When you talk about, because I'm obsessed with Egypt as well, the ancient Egyptian Cleopatra was black. We call it Nefertiti was black. Nefertiti was black.
That's the one.
There was two. That's why.
Oh really?
There was the Tiri and a Titi.
Oh, I only know of Nefertiti.
But yeah, all of it was black. It's crazy. There's even it's just crazy. I don't want to go too deep into it, because if anybody ever wants a deep conversation about ancient Egypt and influence, then they can talk to me privately.
Young Sans.
I don't feel like this platform is ready for me, but but we call it. There's so much our contributions to war. How a couple of years ago, my mum told me that she's just found out that we've got great uncles, about 5 of our ancestors who were part of World War One. I've said before, when I went to Ghana, I realised in 2004 I went to Ghana, and that's when I realised, and I've always been obsessed with history, that there were black people in the war, and how their facial markings were symbolising what battalions or and the tribes that they were from as well. One side was for the
Ashanti,
and all of that. And I remember just open mouth, and it's like all of this and our history, and it's almost unless you seek, well, God says it anyway, the Bible says it, seek and you shall find, ask and it will come unto you. Mm-hmm. But
knock,
for me,
and that
if
door be open to you, boy.
everything is hidden when it comes to us, and all of the lies and the twists and turns or whatever. I think the Florence Nightingale versus Mary Seacole one is one of the best examples you can pretty much get with this, what we're talking about now. But it's just not fair. And I feel like it should be, now that there's the LGBT and they're fighting for that and history and they're trying to get it as young as possible, and I personally feel like it should be secondary school, those discussions. I feel like children should just be left to be alone to be children. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it should be there. So if you're gonna do, and it's not even an if you should are you gonna do, everything should just, there should be a level playing field. If one module is this, the next module should be so if you do
one segment of
white and talk about history. Yeah, and if you're doing World War, talk about both sides of it, because it was a world, and we're always told it was it was almost like, oh, America and the UK saved the world, and we call it Germany was the sworn enemy, and Russia came at the end and saved everybody. That's how it's kind of told. But these times, our ancestors, our relatives, and family, friends, etc. from the past were put on the front line and were one of the first to die. even to go, was it the Vietnamese one? Is it Vietnamese?
What in the
1980s?
Yeah. So
They're still saying the same thing. If you watch films and documentaries about that, where we're the first battalion and we're on the
front line.
on the front line, getting chop up and kill up and blown up first.
He said chop up.
So but then when you hear about it again, that's just, what was it? I don't even know which countries were involved, but America and everybody else around the Asia,
American Mandem.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous, and it's not even to say. I just feel like you should just talk about all angles. Everybody should be included because everybody was involved.
Because it was a war.
Yeah. Do
you know what? It's interesting you say that, because I feel that we are siloed in the fact that
I like that word.
Siloed. Word of the episode.
Siloed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing a bit of a Google to spell that properly.
So it's like, it's basically compartmentalized in the sense that when it comes to Black History Month, especially in the schools, you only focus on Black history in that month,
or the negative history as well.
So mainly, like we said it before, in terms of our media influences in our first episode of the season.
Yeah.
So we talk about slavery and slave films and how that's perpetuated in the media industry.
It's the only option that for us.
Yeah, either that or gangs. But nobody really looks at the formation of some of the biggest, for example, people that really stand out. The person that made, I think, a passion fruit martini was Black. It was a Ghanaian person, right?
Rum was the slaves as well, and it was sold by the slave owners.
But in the school curriculum, we don't focus on that, because I don't know what it is, innit? Obviously, you have more of an educational background than I do, so I'm going based on my limited knowledge.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's so much power there's so much enriched power that is hidden in the Black history, that if it's not spoken about, if it's not shared, if you don't dig, if it's taught in schools, it shows how powerful Black people really are.
That's 100% the truth.
Right?
That's 100% why we're not told.
And one of the things that I think the education system definitely need to do, and you said it before, is touch on different aspects of Black history. Not just
but history, they don't even have to call it Black history,
no,
because
it's
the history that they teach us, we're actually involved in.
Yeah, but I mean, take away the other side of it for now, right? We should have modules specifically focused on uplifting Black history, the positive side of Black history, the positive role models. Obviously, we did it. Mary Seacole's. I learned about Mary Seacole back in.
Is it primary, isn't it?
Primary, yeah. And we touched on it in secondary.
I did not know nothing at all.
Didn't take history in after GCSE.
Yeah.
But in that first 3 years, 7 to 9, we learned a lot about Mary Seacole and the wars and the influential figures in there, right? And even now, me learning about that stays in my mind. Because I've learned about it. Now we're actually robbing the next generation of the knowledge that will benefit them in understanding who they are and where they come from. And it's not just, again, we have, let's say, for example, Ghana Independence Day was like a couple months ago, or Ghana Independence Day, right? Most of the time, and we've done it as well, we put a post out, but we haven't dived deeper into what it means to be a Ghanaian or what it means to be a Caribbean. What was life like before the monarchy came in to take over certain countries, right? And in schools now, I think, especially in the education system, we need to start honouring the independence days of the countries that all of the kids come from. Not just, it's Nigeria Independence Day or Ghana Independence Day, maybe Congo Independence Day, maybe Togo Independence Day, South Africa, and really dive into that history, because they say, it's not up to the school to educate the kids about their history, but it is. It literally is. Like, we send our kids, and we as adults have gone to school to be educated. And if we're getting a subset of education, it's doing us a disservice.
Yeah. I feel like even when we was doing slavery modules, we were almost for that, those couple of weeks, we were giving more education to the teacher because as black kids, we understood the pain that came with what we were learning about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think even in all of that, I suppose it's going on at the moment. You're talking about Independence Days, and countries are now trying to completely dissolve that and be completely
independent,
like literally independent, and not so or independent, not independence.
Independent of the
Commonwealth. Yes.
English is English in today, boy.
But so I completely applaud that, and to me, I'm like, that should have happened from the 1950s and 60s when this started. That's how it should have been. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just like I feel like you can't, and it's not gonna happen. And I don't know if it will happen in the next 10. I don't know if we'll be ready in time for when we think, oh, let's have our make our families either. But the next thing is, and the reason why I am the way I am, and even yourself, you were told to love yourself, and you were told about your history. Yeah. So yeah, it comes from home as well. I'm here. Parents are not speaking to a woman yesterday. She's Welsh and Chinese. And she says she doesn't know how to speak
Welsh.
No.
You said she's Welsh and Chinese.
I don't know. For me, when well, it is a language.
It's Welsh. Listen.
When I see those Q's and C's and W's together, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
Completely blown.
It's spinning.
Yeah, for real. That's looking at it. I don't even know.
Shoot.
It's that guy that on the weather that was just like a horopa.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, with ease. I would have been there like A B C D E. God, I can't. If you told me to like phonetically repeat it, I would have been probably able to get it about the third try. But seeing those letters there threw me off. But sorry. Wait. On a serious note, yeah, I think the importance.
I'm back. I'm back.
Oh gosh, you know how I am. You should be used to it by now.
I'm back.
But yeah, you know how like parents, and I've had some what do you call it, when we were speaking with Still Shady.
Yeah.
After we filmed and whatever, and just not knowing the language, but wanting to know now as an adult. But when you're a child, your brain picks up everything
quick.
There's kids that are 7 and can speak 7 languages. And
That's
crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, my children. I speak to you now. You're going to be learning your languages. Facts. Because it's important and it can get you far. There's so many jobs I've seen. Oh, you know what I mean? If you can speak Spanish, Italian, or French, it's a plus.
Do you know what is crazy? I was literally about to ask you a question on that, right? Why? Like,
Why what?
Languages are so important. Yeah. But why don't we just have, when we have to do like French and Spanish and German and Italian or Latin, replace Latin with a language from or Mandarin, a language from an African country.
That would be nice.
You know? Maybe,
that's true.
You know, or like
even if it was like an enrichment or something after school and you can learn
a Swahili or a Tree or a Fanti or a Ga or Yoruba, Igbo, all of that. Do you know what I mean?
You could literally even just ask the parents and who would want to do it. Vet them so that it's appropriate.
DBS checks and all of that.
Yeah. And then as soon as it's okay, and just give them a little young pocket money, a couple an hour, and let them teach the kids. And then instead of nursery or an after school club, it's like not an extra but no, it's not an extracurricular activity per se.
I mean but
an after school lesson. Yeah. But they're doing something out of the ordinary. Like I would have gone. I would have gone. I would have gone to that. So yeah, but I don't know. My mum bought me like videos, but they were very centered over. My mum's obsessed with Ghana. We call it with the Ghanaian culture. So whatever. When I was with my Caribbean friends, a lot of them felt like I was more African, but then I was like, but deep it, we're all from the same place, and I'll always say I'm Caribbean. But then when you say, do I know I'm African? Yes.
No, we didn't. We don't come from Africa.
During that argument, I could never sit there and I'm like, we've come from there. Like at the end of the day, I would say we call it, because at the time, the Caribbeans were the music and the vibe, everything
Cartel.
was running things. So I would own that part. But I
Mavado
said
and the
you
Mandos,
can't
yeah?
say that we're not. I'm done with him. Gully side, Gaza side, Gully. Yeah, that was Gully.
Gully
and Gaza.
Creeper.
Oh god, that dance kills me. But yeah.
The
But
leg
yeah.
is moving over here, by the way.
But yeah. It's not in view for your leg today. But yeah, no. So all of that. So you can't deny where we've come from. The oldest person in the oldest mummy or dead body that they've found and analysed was a black woman, and they even give it a European name. You know, they called the woman Lucy. So yeah. But
Gosh.
the oldest woman was or oldest corpse or preserved body was found was a black woman, and it was dated like, I don't even know now. It was like must have been a BC one.
Something BC.
Yeah,
bro.
so we call it like, let's be real, and we were everywhere. So you know what I mean. If we're being but we're not taught that. But I think we did a little bit of Egypt and Tutankhamun or King Tut in talking about that. But then you're not really speaking about the whole historic factor there as well. And I think some of the white people that think they were the old Egyptians are saying as well that, oh, when you look at the paintings,
They're black.
no, they say, oh, the lighter ones are us. No, black people come in different shades, love. And there was actually a divide. We call it, well, look, me and you sitting here now, we're two different shades. We'll bring another one, tomorrow, thing will be lighter than the both of us.
Oh, yeah, Jamal for
like legit, there's people, black people whose skin tone is darker, deeper and richer than ours. So let's not get it twisted. And those people were living in harmony. There was a divide between them at some point as well. So we call it, at the end of the day, like the drawing would have probably not been filled in if it was. Or that it wouldn't have been coloured in. Sorry. But let's be honest. It's just ignorance. I feel like, sir? I thought the door was opening when I heard the noise. I was like, what's going on? Do you see me?
No.
But let's be real. I feel like because of the extent and the beauty and the innovation of that whole era, it's theirs. Because we're too dumb. This is what they say because I don't believe it, of course. I don't carry it. We're too dumb to think of stuff like that. Even so if you go to slavery and those 400 years of slavery and coming out of it, when we came out, it was there was the Civil War, etc. But then we were still made to work on the plantations, but they just paid us for a bit, and it might have been like 1 shilling a day. So you're still expected to catch and count, and some people actually still illegally were slaves, but you were supposed to be free. But where were you supposed to go? You've been taken from your land, and they could still exploit that.
And you can't even
and then all of the inventions, the hot comb, the theme for female sanitary pads was created by a black woman. Washing machine,
Live longer without God.
I'm trying to be serious here. This guy's out here doing commercials.
Sorry,
But
I couldn't help myself.
The list is endless anyway. Comb, obviously, and everything else. So, for me, I feel like it's just crazy. We talk about, and the food that we export in, and we're doing that in geography or whatever, for example. How did it get here? And why do you have more mangoes than they have back home? Like, it's stuff like this.
24 marks.
We talking about it, and I realised AQA, NXL. But yeah, so
OCR,
it's stuff like that. And I feel like the moment we are open and honest, everybody's going to think, and I feel like this whole fear and of, I don't know, telling us about who we are because they're scared that we'll realise that we're better or whatever is mad. Because you're suppressing us and thinking that doing that makes you better. It's an irony, like, and more time we just want equality, and that counts in education as well. So last thing, I did want to mention child queue, but that's going on at the moment. And what's your stance on that?
Out of order. If I say what I want to say, I'll get cancelled, in it. So
he said cancelled.
Listen.
So for those who don't know, if you don't know, I don't know what box you've been living in. So there was a black child who was unfortunately strip searched, and while she was menstruating, and she informed that. Now, from an education standpoint, as a teacher, teaching lessons or support stuff, I've come from pastoral, which is like head of year, assistant head of year as well. We've had to find. You're right.
Yeah, I'm good, boy. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to keep it.
we've found students or had suspicions with students with weed on them, and the first thing we do is you get 2 teachers. So the police hasn't even been called, Bridget. You get 2 teachers. This is from my old school, because I haven't really experienced it in this current school, and it would have been, one would have been senior leadership to make sure everything's above board, and the other one would have been somebody like myself who would be an assistant head of year and a head of year, etc. And you would ask the question first, is there anything on you that you wish to give to us now? You give the child the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And the person I used to work with a lot in senior leadership used to ask that question 3 times, brethren.
Not once.
Not 2, but 1,000. Sorry. But yeah. I love that meme. Auntie was going in and it was the 1,000 bit that killed me. But yeah, and after that, you might ask for tell the child, right, take off your blazer. If they haven't, even if they haven't, if they've given you stuff, you'll still ask them, but you'll process that first and you might talk to them, and then the child asks them, give us the rest if you've got any more. Have you got anything else? If they don't, you proceed. How you do it, there needs to be 2 people in the room, and there's no police here still, I might add. And we call it, tell the child, take off the blazer. They would hand it to you, and you would be there and you'd open the pocket. And I wouldn't do it, I would be witness. So my role, I would be a witness.
And it would be
the senior leadership would be doing this. Take it out. Tell the child to take off the jumper. If the jumper, obviously the jumper don't have the pockets. Then you leave the child in their shirt, their skirt, or trousers if it's a boy, and tell them to open their pockets while it's on them. And that's as far as you go. Sometimes if it was really serious, you'll tell them to take off their shoes like you do in the airport.
Oh, right.
But that's it.
Do you... Okay, so question.
You do not touch the child.
So you don't, like, do you inspect the shoe?
Yeah, they have done in the past.
If the feet are smelling
I haven't personally done it. I've witnessed it, but never in my life have I seen and heard anything like this. And when I heard it was in London, and when I heard it was in Hackney, I was like, what? Out of all of the boroughs, Hackney. And then I was like, on top of that, whoever this happened 2 years ago.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this happened 2 years ago. The head teacher is still there, and because this is
So
now
wait,
become
this wasn't
public,
even...
No.
I thought this was like the other day.
No. This is 2 years ago. I feel like the inquiry's just started. She was a minor, and in the paper, in the court proceedings, they're referring to her as a young woman. And historically, as a black woman, we are over-sexualized, and we're told that we're older than we are, we're tough, and we can handle everything. She was, I think, 14 or something at the time, and she was singled out because her friend, I don't know if it was a male or female friend, had been found with weed. And they said, oh, she smells like weed. And because they didn't like the friend or something along those lines, they've just singled her out. She was a top student in the middle of her exam and called her out for everybody to see. The head teacher is still in that school. Why? So for me, this is another thing. We've talked a lot about education and... Yeah. Legit. We talked about education and... fight for our rights, Bob Marley. But we call it, let's be real. Do you feel safe in school as a black person? Especially after hearing this. Because I'm telling you now, if that was my picnic, I'm going ragga. I'm telling you now, don't know any arms dealers.
She said she's going to go find the mafias, man.
Teacher would have been done, the whole school. And I feel like for me, the best thing that school can do right now, I don't know what your opinion is in the concluding parts of this. The head teacher needs to resign. The local council needs to get involved. It's an academy, which is an issue because academies can be separate. They're separate from the government.
Owned by someone else.
But the local council needs to go and get involved because Hackney Council needs to get involved. It's not just enough for the mayor to tweet, but at least he spoke out about it.
Yeah.
But they need to get involved. They need to close the school down. We've done it for lockdown, so they can do it. Prepare the students, even if it happens for September. And then there's a temp head teacher for the time being. The whole of the senior leadership team would have been gone. And we'll be doing a rehiring process and a screening process of that school. And we'll be doing an inquiry across the borough to make sure everything is up to standard. My thing is, how did
Sahara
Ofsted
for
miss...
PM.
Or we're education secretary.
Sahara for Ofsted.
But come on, man. Like, for me, and to hear, and she's crying, and she's saying, and they said we're gonna strip search her as a child. And let's talk about the law now. Have a law degree.
Brother.
She is a minor. So for me, this to me kind of goes this is sexual assault. Borderline rape, to be honest, if they've told her to cough and stuck everything up her as well. While she is menstruating, and as a parent, how do you deal with this? She's scarred for life. I don't know, man. So I know I've been ranting about this.
I didn't know the details of it.
I've been looking into it.
For me, certain things I decide to be ignorant towards because I know me. If I hear that, I've got nieces and you can't be ignorant. You can't be ignorant at all. Yeah.
So yeah. I'm sorry. We ended it on a bit of a heavy note, but it's things that need to be discussed, and we can't overlook these things, because if this was our child, that's what you need to think about. This could have been your brother, your sister. This could have been your niece, your nephew, your own flesh and blood. So for me,
we need to hire more black teachers as well. We need to have more teachers that the kids can relate to.
Yeah. More black teachers, yes, and reflective. The multicultural school should be reflected with a multicultural staff body, and it should also be reflected in senior leadership, because some leaders and head teachers think that, oh well, you know what I mean, the staff body as a whole is multicultural, because that happens now as well. But then senior leadership is full of
the specific demographic.
So there's a lot of change that needs to be happening. And to quote or to rebuttal Boris's quote, the UK is not progressive. We are still in the regressive stage.
And that's that. But thank you guys for listening. It's been Quakes.
And it's been Sahara.
And it's been the Palm Wine Podcast. Yeah. And it's the Palm Wine. Hey, and it's the Palm Wine Podcast. Yeah. And it's the Palm Wine.
And it's the Palm Wine Podcast.